Flipping homes is exciting and terrifying at the same time. If you're anything like my wife and I, you would watch those TV shows about fixing and flipping homes, and you'd wonder to yourself, could we do that? Could we take an ugly home and turn it into a beautiful property, sell it for a big profit, and move on to the next one? Well, we did just that, and I want to share with you all the different aspects of real estate investing in the hopes that maybe it will help you if you want to go down that path. We did everything from fixing and flipping, fixing and renting home, renovating our personal residence, as well as wholesaling properties. So if you're interested in real estate investing, this video is for you. So how does somebody get started in real estate investing? It can be pretty intimidating, I'll admit. One of the main things I did was using a lot of free content from BRRRR. At the time, it was their podcast and their blog. I would just devour everything that they had. I did buy some of their books. So I think all in all, I spent less than $100 with all of the content and the training. And what's interesting is I had a good friend of mine, and he was a real estate investor. He'd been flipping homes for years. Him and his wife were doing these deals. And I went to him and I was like, hey, I think we can have a good partnership. I've got online digital marketing skills that we could acquire potentially new deals from, and then work together and flip these homes. And he was on board. He's like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? We get more deals. So I learned all of this free stuff in literally within a week. I came back to him and I was like, okay, I know how to flip homes, acquire funding, all of the different contracting we need to do. And he was like, wow, how did you learn all this? And I was like, I just dove in. And I think that's what people have to learn, is that you just have to dive into it, go deep. And for the most part, a lot of it is free content. You don't have to invest in these tens of thousands of dollars to go to these conferences or conventions to get trained by these gurus, where you could literally just start by using the free resources available. Now, I did mention this friend of mine, and I initially went and I said, I want to flip homes. I want to work with you because you've been doing it. So I want to learn, from you, but I also want to provide asset, as far as my abilities in marketing. And so how did we find our first deals? What was interesting at the time is while I was an online marketer and I was really good at generating leads that way, I realized, and I learned from BRRRR content, that one of the best ways to find homeowners that were interested in selling their home and had a need and a want to do it quickly was through letters. They used to call them yellow letters. I'm sure they still do call them that. But basically, there was these service providers. I think yellowletters.com, if I'm remembering correctly, was a service where basically you would upload a list of addresses. These addresses you can acquire from these different database websites. And they basically give you all the addresses within a certain range. It might be criteria like homeowners that have been there for so many years, and assumed equity is X dollars. All of these things are really important to understand. Is you want to find somebody that needs to sell their home quickly, and they're willing to basically offer or take a lower offer on the price for the convenience that we as flippers would offer. So a lot of people would look down on the fix and flip market and say, oh, you're just trying to steal these properties at a lower price point from these people that are unsuspecting. And it was actually the farthest from the truth. A lot of the deals were more advantageous for these individuals because they didn't have to fix up or clean up their homes. They didn't have to worry about inspections. They didn't have to worry about the things coming back to them and these different contracts. Basically, we would go in, we would look at the property and say, here's what we're offer, all cash. We can close in as little as 2 or 3 days, and you can have your check and you can be on your way. And for those that are in need of the money, a lot of times if they have the equity, basically they're able to walk away with tens of thousands of dollars without having to do anything to sell their home. And then they're able to continue on and do what they need to do with their life, whether that's a family member who's passed away or they're just in a rough financial situation and they need to get out of the house. So that's how we found our first deal together, was sending out these letters. I think we sent out let's say a couple thousand, and we sent them to this specific area that we knew was going to have a great opportunity to see higher valuation of the property. So we got this individual that called us, and we went in over there and we looked at the property and saw there was a great potential for flipping it. So we made him an offer. He came back and forth, was a little bit leery, was wondering, dealing with, these people that are just sending letters, but everything was on the up and up. We were able to offer contracts, just like any other real estate transaction. They had their lawyer look at it, and we closed the first deal. So what's interesting about that first deal is this would come back, just like any business, referrals. Later on, this individual, their parents, one of the parents had passed away, and the other parent had been gone for a while, but parents passed away and they needed to get rid of the home. The home was in Wheat Ridge, Colorado, and we were able to be the first ones to get called from them because we had done a great deal with them before. They were happy about what we provided to them in the first deal. And they said, hey, my folks have passed away. We have an estate sale and we want to get rid of this home. And it was in pretty rough shape. They didn't want to deal with cleaning it all up. Obviously, there's a lot of potential trauma that happens if you're going into the home. You just kind of want to be done with it. So another opportunity to help them out while also providing an opportunity for us to make some money. So one of the interesting things on this deal was we were actually able to do seller financing. So some of the different ways that you can fund these properties. There's these short-term loans, which you can get from what they call hard money lenders. Again, all of this is something that you can read and find for free in all these investor websites like BiggerPockets. But hard money lenders will provide a loan based on the investment property. So if you come to them and you say, hey, the value after we do our repairs, we're estimating at, let's call it $600,000. The property itself is $300,000. It's going to acquire, and then it's going to cost us maybe $100,000 in improvements. So all in, we're in for $400,000. Can we borrow $400,000 with basically providing you being the first lien holder position? And these are all over the place. The hard money lenders are the backbone of the fix and flip industry. So while these people have money, whether it's in retirement accounts, their IRAs, and they can lend that out, or if they just have money from other investments and they want to make a good, decent return, a lot of times you can make 8 to 12% on that actual investment, plus potentially some points up front. So there's one way of funding deals. The way that we funded this deal was through seller financing. I asked the individual, this is, again, completely new to me, but understanding that when you read these things, you learn about all the different opportunities to make it a less risky opportunity for you to acquire a property instead of having to go out and finance, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think this property was close to $400,000 in purchase price that we offered them. And in order to finance the deal, if they had paid off their property, which they had no mortgage. So we were able to offer them basically getting interest while we were fixing up the property and before we sold it, and they would be able to capture the interest while we didn't have to come out of pocket for the purchase of the property. We still had to come out of pocket in order to go find funding for the rehab. So the rehab on this one was close to $100,000, and there's a lot that we did. So in this property, this was a very interesting property. This was a flat, it was a ranch, and so it was, I believe, approximately 2,600 square feet. But it was built in the, I think it was 1950s, 1960s. Older neighborhood, brick home, and the primary home was built in the, I think, 50s, 60s, and then they put an addition on behind the house because the property, the lot was very long and wide, or not wide, but very long and deep. And so they put an addition going out to the back of the house, probably adding an additional maybe 800 to 1,000 square feet. and that's where some bedrooms were, as well as this kind of outdoor screened-in area. So anyway, the home itself was built in, like I said, the 50s, 60s, and then this addition was put on probably 10 years later in the 70s, maybe 80s. So what was really interesting about this is the home had two different heating sources. For the front half of the house, it was forced air, just like most homes are built today, with a furnace. The back half of the house used a boiler with hot water heat, radiant heat. So there were two different types of heating sources, which made it interesting. The back part of the house didn't have air conditioning, but the front part of the house did. So there was a lot of different quirky things to this. It was lath and plaster inside, so very old, hard to put holes in walls to demo. There's a lot of crazy things about the home. One of the other things too is that addition that they put on the home was a flat roof. So the flat roofs, depending on where you live, code requires different types of sloping. If it's grandfathered in, we had some leaks that we needed to take care of. So we were debating, should we put on a pitched roof back there? It really started to get out of hand as far as there's a lot of things we needed to do to this in order to make it what I felt was going to be a sellable property. So anyway, we did a lot. There was a lot of crazy lessons learned in this one. I'm sharing some photos as we go along here, before and after. The kitchen turned out beautiful. We did some demo that opened up some walls to make it more open and airy. It really was a fun flip. It was something that you would look at this house beforehand and then look at it after. We had got a new roof because the roof was a wood shake roof. Insurance companies weren't going to replace that roof or insure it, period. The old homes in Colorado, a lot of them would have wood shake roofs, which, as you can imagine, with hail and with fire, don't do real well. So there was a lot of money that went into that. I think the roof alone was $20,000 or so. But a lot of lessons learned, a lot of fun things that came from that, a lot of mistakes made. We spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of time personally over there doing a lot of work myself. And that's one thing I would tell you is, if you're interested in doing this, you can put your own sweat equity into this. A lot of the things I hired out to help speed up the process. A lot of the things I technically could have done myself, tiling and flooring and hanging cabinets and all these things, but did hire some help for that to help speed along the process. And so you've got expenses there, all the different types of things that go into this, including paying for the interest along the way. One of the things that's great about having seller financing is you can actually lump that in, so you don't have to pay a monthly interest rate towards the homeowner. You can just basically say, when we go to sell this home, we'll pay you the interest that's accrued over that time period. So for this property, I think it took approximately 6 months of rehab, and then we were able to sell it. And what's funny is we were able to sell it to a realtor who she also did fix and flips, but she used it as her primary residence, and she was blown away by how beautiful and how useful the property, what we turned it into. So that was cool. That was exciting. So that's fix and flip. And that's traditionally what most, real estate investing TV shows and things will show you, is how do you buy a property, or, take a property that's ugly and fix it and flip it into something that's beautiful, and you can make this a ton of money. We didn't make a ton of money. After all of it was said and done, approximately a $20,000 profit. Now, that might sound like a lot to some people, but when you're dealing with $500,000 of potential risk out there, and a lot of money flowing in and out, a lot of things could go wrong. It just wasn't as profitable as possible. Some of the things I did poorly, I did a lot of work myself. And I think technically, if I would have hired somebody to do a lot of things I was doing, it probably could have been done sooner, which would have saved us money on interest and probably would have made more money. So that's one thing that I would recommend. The property itself was very unique, and the things like the roof being flat roof, the two different heating sources, we had to deal with getting a new boiler. The boiler, we had to replace that. I learned a ton, but it probably was a property that shouldn't have taken it on. A lot of the best fix and flippers will try to find properties that really don't need anything more than the basics. Maybe it's cabinets, flooring, paint, carpet, those kind of things. We did a roof, we did massive demo, we did some structural things. We also, renovated every room, including the bathrooms. So it was a little bit too much, and I'll admit that. So be careful on that. That was fix and flipping. The other type of property that I want to talk about, the other type of investment opportunities out there, is to fix and rent. So this is going to be called, and from the bigger pockets and from the real estate investing world, they call it BRRRR, which is buy, renovate, rent, rinse, repeat, something like that. Basically, refinance. So buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and then repeat. When you're looking at renting a property out, it's a completely different transaction or scenario than fixing and flipping. A fix and flip is something where generally you're trying to acquire the property at a really low entry point that you can make as much money on the back end as possible, assuming that you think the property is going to be worth more after about 6 months of renovation, as well as the interest payments that go into that. So fixing and flipping a home is generally something that's done within 6 to 12 months from purchase to sale. Hopefully the sooner the better, because then you're saving money on that interest, as I mentioned. But fixing up and renting, that's a whole different game, because really what you're trying to do is you're trying to maximize the amount of cash flow. For most people who are looking at rental properties, they're trying to maximize how much cash flow can I get from this property while I've got a tenant in there. So this deal actually came to us from a website. I had built a website for us to generate leads for people that were interested in selling their homes. And we had run some ads. We actually were doing some advertising. And this gentleman, younger guy, reached out, called us, and was interested in selling his home. And this was an individual who was in debt in other ways, had other credit card and personal debts that he needed to pay, and he was kind of in a rough spot. The home wasn't in great shape. I've got some pictures here that I'll show, but the home itself was, the outside and the inside were not in great shape. It was a smaller home in Aurora, Colorado, and it was one of these places where the ability to purchase a home at a lower price was great, and there was an opportunity to flip it, and probably could have made maybe $25,000 to $40,000 in profit flipping the property. But at the time, I was like, well, I want to try renting. I want to try fixing it up and renting it. So that's what we did. We basically acquired this property. I think it was in the low 100 range. Let's call it 120,000. And what's great about this is this guy was able to, because his loan was less than what we offered to him, he was able to pocket about $15,000 or $20,000 and able to go pay off some debts and basically start fresh. And he didn't have the money or resources to be able to fix up and list his home and try to get the most out of it as possible. And we were able to come in, offer him basically a cash deal within a week. And he took us up on it, and I think both parties were excited. So we got to work in renovating the property. Keep in mind, when you're renovating a property with the idea of renting it out, you have to keep other things in mind. You want more durable surfaces for the flooring so that it lasts longer. You want to do things that maybe aren't as higher on the quality for people who are going to be renting the property. This was where one of the things that I did wrong. For me, I take a lot of pride in the work. And so again, there I am in the home doing a lot of the work myself. I know, I'm a masochist. I should have hired out a lot more of this work, but I enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed seeing that transition of taking a home from this really ugly mess to really a nice home that I was going to be able to offer to somebody and rent it out. And it's a clean home, but unfortunately, the tenants didn't treat it well. I'll get to that in a minute. But when you look at fixing up and renting the home, that BRRRR method. So let's go back to the BRRRR method. It's, buy it. So acquire the property. We acquired it for, like I said, $120,000, I think. And then you rehab it. So then we put in probably another $35,000 to $45,000. This one didn't require a new roof, we painted the outside of the home. All the carpeting, all the flooring had to be replaced because it was gross. And the kitchen, we basically wiped out the kitchen and the flooring upstairs or on the main level as well. So we put in some vinyl vinyl planks. So basically like hardwood flooring, but vinyl planks. These are really resistant to wear and tear, but also water and those kind of things. So it's really, really nice for hard surface areas. So we did that. We did the kitchen, all new cabinets and sinks. So related to cabinets, skip around as much as you'd like in this video, but I'm kind of just spewing it all. So if you enjoy this, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Hopefully this is adding some value to you. Cabinets. So when you're fixing and flipping homes, you're going to need to find some team members to work with. You're going to need to find people who are good with electrical, whether it's an electrical contractor. We had a guy that moonlighted from his main company, his main business, and on the weekends and later at night, we were able to pay him to come in and run wires and do the electrical. So you're going to need people like that, maybe a plumber. And then you've got HVAC. I had a friend who did HVAC. And so if I needed to replace a furnace or have it cleaned and serviced, you're going to need to find resources for cabinets. And we found a local company in Denver that offered basically wholesale pricing for investors. And so you're able to get a deal with them so that you can acquire these cabinets, which are really nice cabinets. So later on, we went to put the same cabinets in our personal residence, which I'll get to in a minute when we renovated our home. But finding all of these different components, it's networking, but it's also just asking questions. I had a buddy of mine who was investing in fixing and flipping before, so I asked him. But asking around, understanding how do we get the best prices, and finding the good people. And not all contractors are going to be the best fits for you. Some of them are good, some of them not so much. So unfortunately, you'll have to go through that process of learning. But all in all, when you're renting buying a property to fix up and rent, you're also going to look at what can I do to the property to make it attractive to renters in that area. And so in this area, it was a neighborhood full of families. There's schools close by. So for kids and those kind of things, like having a safe backyard, those kind of things. So we were actually able to renovate it, get it all listed, and then we went to list it for rental. And then this is where finding a tenant comes into play. You've got to find, either you do it yourself, either you rent it out yourself, you go through understanding the contracts of lease tenant agreements, or you hire a property manager. I would recommend hiring a property manager. Generally, they take anywhere between 7 and 10% of the gross rents, which, if you're this property, I think was about $1,400 a month in rent for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And so $1,400 is about $150, $140 a month that the property manager took to manage that property. well worth it, but it does, cut down on that cash flow. I think this property, we ended up cash flowing approximately $500 a month, which is actually a really good deal on such a low price point for this home. So there's the buy, the renovate, and then you've got the refinancing part. You still, in order to acquire the property and offer that cash deal, we still had to go find hard money lenders, somebody who's willing to invest in us to acquire the property. We pay them an interest rate. Generally, it's about 10 to 12% for these hard money lenders. And then we renovate it, get it the value of the property so that we can have it refinanced into a long-term mortgage, which we're able to do. So in this situation, we had a short-term lender for about 6 months, and then I think it was a little bit less, maybe 4 or 5 months. And then we got the property appraised, and we were able to then find financing through a traditional bank, traditional lenders, and the interest rates, I think, were maybe around, at this time, it was like 4.5%. We had to have 20% down. I think it was actually 25% down for investment property, but that was fine because we had acquired the property at a great price point, and when we went into refinancing it, we were actually able to take some money out at this point. So that's the BRRRR method. That's buying and rehabbing and renting it out versus flipping it. Another strategy in real estate investing is called wholesaling. And wholesaling is basically being the middleman between the home seller, somebody who's willing to sell their home, and somebody who's willing to invest and buy the home and either fix it and flip it or fix it and rent it out. And these people, the wholesalers, will go out and they'll try to find these homeowners that are willing to sell their home. And then they'll basically underwrite the contract with the homeowner and say, we're willing to buy it for this. And then they'll quickly go out and find an investor. And these investors are easy to find. There's generally lists of them. There's clubs that are out there. These are generally called bird dogs, the people that go out and try to find the homes to then take that contract and sell it to an investor and have them deal with the bigger part of it, which is the investing in it and rehabbing it. So the wholesaler basically makes either a flat rate or a percentage of the transaction, whatever contract that they put together with the investor. They go and they find the home, and then they decide on what's an investor probably going to be willing to invest and pay for that contract to purchase that home, and then they just collect the difference. They have escrow and real estate title companies that handle the transaction. This happens all the time. So this didn't happen. We didn't do this that much. I think there was 2 deals that we did as wholesaling, and we found this property, and it was in East Denver, and the property had some foundational issues. There's also this sketchy potential ghost situation. We had taken pictures. Oh, it gives me goosebumps even thinking about it. But the basement of this home was semi-finished. It was kind of just had some carpet thrown down, and it was just gives me goosebumps, like I said. We took these pictures of the corners or the rooms, and in the corner there was this silhouette of something that just didn't look right. Gosh, if you could see my arms right now, I'm literally like, ugh. So, needless to say, we didn't want to deal with that property. We didn't want to have to be in that property working on it for various reasons, primarily because of the foundational issues that was going to cost too much money to fix. Again, remembering this box that you're trying to find, this perfect opportunity of not too much expense to fix the home up in order to sell it for the right price. And so foundations can go wrong in many ways. Once you start trying to fix one thing, it can make other things go bad. So foundational issues and freaky ghost issues as well. So what we decided to do is to wholesale it. We put a contract for the homeowner. We said, hey, we're willing to buy this property for X dollars. And then what we did is we went out and we let our other investor friends know, like, hey, we've got this property. We're willing to sell it for this, basically $10,000, $20,000. I think it was about $20,000 above what we offered. So we offered, we got $20,000 in profit without having to touch the home, which was great, or deal with that ghost. So that's wholesaling. That's another opportunity. Again, all of these strategies are explained in all of these different real estate investing books. Highly recommend Bigger Pockets. Couldn't recommend them enough. Great team over there. So much content, so much free stuff that really anybody, somebody like myself who's brand new to real estate investing, can learn. So you've got fix and flips. We've covered that. We've got fix and rents, the BRRRR method. We've got wholesaling. And now I want to talk about renovating your own home. And basically what I did is I started to understand that I could go out and find a home that was not in great condition, and I could renovate it and make it worth that much more. I could go out and basically acquire financing to renovate the home, and then fix it up and then refinance it at a higher valuation, maybe take out some cash at that point, or just have more equity in the home. So that's what we did. We were actually doing this. We found this property in Centennial, Colorado. It was a great property. Husband and wife, they had some kids that were grown up, and they were moving, I think, out of state. And the home was old. It was 80s. And wasn't really in that great of shape. The insides, it was pretty bad. They had even tried to, you could tell they put down new tile in some locations, I think the kitchen and a bathroom, and they used black grout, which it was awful. It was awful. But anyway, we were able to get this property at a pretty good deal. I think it was about $350,000 is what we paid for it. It's a great neighborhood in Centennial, really up and coming, family oriented, great property values, all of it. And so we were excited. So we got the home and then started renovating literally the entire home, tore apart the whole kitchen. Fun fact, my wife was pregnant with our second child during this whole process. So not only did we not have a kitchen for a while, we had a table, card table with a microwave, paper plates. We ate out all the time, and she was getting real pregnant. And in fact, we had our daughter, our second daughter, while our home was in the midst of just complete disarray. We didn't even have, when she was born, the staircase, we had the staircase redone, so there was no railing. Lesson number one, don't renovate a home while you're living in it, especially if you are expecting a baby. But hey, that's what happens with life, and you live and learn. But we were able to renovate this house and really make it the way we wanted. I was able to look at the bathroom, the master bath, and envisioned a steam shower. And I was able to figure out what we needed to put that steam shower together. You have to waterproof it underneath the tile. I designed the entire bathroom myself. Really, it was really fun. It was super fun to do this and to figure out how everything works. And I think if you're interested in real estate investing, if you're interested in going through the process of making mistakes, but also at the end of it, you're going to look back and say, wow, I've learned a lot. Maybe you've acquired some properties. Maybe you've got some rental properties at the end of it. Maybe you've broke even or even lost money at the end of it, but you've come away from it doing things that I never thought I was going to do, which was acquiring a home using seller financing, which is just a matter of asking and providing the right opportunity to the person selling. And this can apply to businesses as well. Acquiring businesses, a lot of businesses, I think about 60% of businesses are bought using seller financing. So just learning all of these lessons, our home, here's some pictures that I'm sharing along the way of the journey. But the home turned out beautiful. And one of the funny things that my mom, we had just finished the home. We had not got to a point where we had sealed the grout in the kitchen. The kitchen's beautiful. Love the kitchen. And we were having Thanksgiving, and my mom comes over, and we're making the turkey, and my wife had put it in a bag for the brine. And my wife's like, "Hey, Mom, can you just hold the bag while I go to the bathroom or something?" And all of a sudden, all you heard was, and my mom says, "Oh no." And the brine had just emptied out into the cabinets, all over the floor. But it was fine. Got it cleaned up, and still looks great. But then the next homeowners were able to buy basically a brand new home, beautiful master suite with a steam shower, custom. And they were able to live in it for a couple of years and turn around and sell it at a great market as well. So all in all, it's a great experience. I hope this has helped inspire. I hope this has helped maybe pique some interest in understanding, the different types of deals that are available. How do you find the properties? How do you find the funding? What are the best resources in order to learn about real estate investing? And I think the main takeaway that I would like you to have is you don't need to invest a ton of money in learning the process. The best way to do it is to learn the basics. Go find maybe somebody who's done it before and is willing to offer some sharing some resources like their list of contractors, list of cabinet companies and things that they've dealt with in the past. And then just get started. Find your first deal and figure it out. So I wish you the best. I hope something great happens to you today. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Let me know with a thumbs up or comment in the comments down below. If you're interested in doing this, if you've done investments in the past, how those have gone, I would love to hear. And as always, have a great day. I'll see you next time.